Hi, I'm Nate Caddy. You're listening to the Don Pod.
Welcome to the Don Pod, the supporters podcast. Here's your hosts, Sam and Nate.
3, 2, 1, yeah!
The Dons get rucked over in the West. Essendon do survive and win 11-11-77 to West Coast 11-9-75, but it came at an almighty cost with the second long-term injury to a ruckman in as many weeks. Welcome back to the Don Pod. I'm joined very somberly by Nathan. Don't think that's a word, but you get me.
Yep.
Hello to you. Happy Easter.
Hello, Sam, and hello to everyone. And yes, and happy Easter. I hope, as I was saying to Sam earlier, I've eaten all my chocolates.
You have no self-control whatsoever.
I love chocolate. Yes,
Yes.
and my wife brought me this giant freckle chocolate, which I do love freckles. They're
Okay.
classic. So now I'm pumped. Yeah, ready.
Very good. I hope you all had a safe and happy Easter. We're recording this on Easter Monday, I was the issue, I suppose. I was away for the few days. So
I've been sitting around with nothing to do for 2 days.
yeah, apologies for that. Tough old trip to the West, I think. A bit to unpack, but at the same time, just one I think we all want to forget about. It's going to be pretty hard to forget about, given we're not going to have a ruckman for the next 12 months. But anyway, Merritt, 26 disposals and 7 clearances. Nicky Boy Martin, 26 touches, 4 tackles, 3 clearances and a goal. And then Andrew McGrath, 25 disposals at 472 metres gained, which was a game high. Big Pete comes back into the side with 6 goals. Love seeing that set shot. I'm all about that. Those
Beautiful
long
set
50
shot.
metre.
Yeah.
Oh, just gorgeous.
I've missed
things.
it. Missed that skill.
But a very welcome return with the 6. Took Waterman's 4 in the first quarter and said, hold my beer, I got this. Perko 2 came in about 30 seconds of each other. Shield, Martin and Draper 1 each. Now, we have to start with the big boy.
The big
Sammy.
issue.
Just breaks your heart. I think he's such a well-liked bloke in the club. He's one of those guys that keeps a football club, the room's positive and bit of energy, always a bit of energy with Sammy. Never looks good when you're just running and barely even broke into his stride and he just dropped like a big sack of spuds. Never a good look.
So what we can confirm, I guess, is the club has said it's Achilles.
It is an Achilles
He's
ruptured.
getting it operated on.
We will know more about length
After
of
the
time
operation,
after operation,
But let's just assume that this season's gone.
It's season, yeah.
And probably the negative on that is that it will probably push through into a bit of next season and, he loses all that fitness that he'd worked so hard to get.
He was in career best form. He was playing good footy. He was leading our goal kicking, still is.
He even had 110 Supercoach points when he went down for me. And I had him in my team. I was like, thank you. Yeah.
He had a good game of footy. I really also just quickly watching Melbourne against Fremantle. Gawn dominated that.
Yeah.
So I had a real appreciation for Draper
He
last week having to go and do that by himself. And I know Gawn had the better of him, but it was a much, much closer run thing than Gawn against Sean Darcy, for
I
example.
agree. Sean Darcy's been pretty ordinary, actually, since he's come back in those 2 games.
So just a bit of a soul-destroying injury, really. And I think I've said a few times, I would have rather lost the game by 3 or 4 goals and him remain
Felt
fit.
like we were going to.
Did feel like we were going to. We stole it a little bit.
Oh, look, I agree with everything he's saying. I think it's really sad that compacted by the Nick Bryant one last week is that, and what I think I'm so frustrated about is that I was so looking for, that was one of the real shining lights in our team at the moment, like the Bryant and Draper combo.
We said it 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's the best thing we've got going at the moment is our ruck duo.
Yeah, and if again, I know people not to care not too much, but from a fantasy perspective, when teams play Essendon, they know that the ruck is a red team, so ruckmen do not score high points against us because they're too hard ruckmen to play against. And if I throw it through to this week with Collingwood coming up, with Cox and Cameron, that would have been a great matchup. The athleticism of Draper against Cox would have really been great, and Brian against Cameron would have been a great matchup too. So now we're just both of them out, and what we do next is, I don't know. I'm probably more at the moment. I'm going give the keys to Vigo and just say, go for it, buddy, and play him 4 or 5 games in a row, and then bring Goldstein in, playing for 3 or 4 games, bring Goldstein in for a couple, just getting through the year. Because what I think is that they'll pick Goldstein, and I understand why. But what we saw last year was Goldstein. He started really well, like his first 4 or 5 games. He was really competitive. He was right up and about. But then there was this pretty sharp decline in his output, and we're only at round 6. We're coming into, so by the bye round he could be playing ordinary footy again.
Well, I think I support what you're saying in play the kids. I would, we're screwed.
We're screwed
In that department.
We're now bottom 4 easy.
We're screwed. So I'm all for playing the kids. What I think you need to think about a little bit more, perhaps, is protecting Vigo.
I agree.
So Cameron's a very good ruckman, big body. So maybe Goldstein plays to protect. I don't know if you play them both and you play Vigo forward and then they chop out, so he gets the experience, but Goldie can still take number 1 ruckman from the opposition.
I think that's a great idea. I would seriously consider playing them both, because you've got Cox. So Cox is going to ruck against Peter Wright. Now that's
and there's
a
not
massive
much. Cox
challenge
is
for
pretty average footballer, but one thing he can do is he's tall and he can take a mark and he can ruck.
Yeah, in the ruck as against Peter Wright, he's going to be a real threat. And they will use that. So yeah. I don't mind that suggestion of playing both of them, and then that makes Peter Wright more of a permanent forward. Maybe you drop Jones. He had a pretty ordinary game. You just go with that sort of motto. But anyway,
we'll come to that. We'll come to next week in a little bit. Well, let's talk about Big Pete. So comes back into the side. Was seriously out of form at the end of last season. Got dropped. Did he play preseason games this year?
Yeah, he played I don't think he played. He got injured he played a preseason game, but he got injured in them. That's where he was affected. But then he played the half or 3/4 of game in the VFL last week and kicked a few.
3 or 4, I think.
Yeah.
Look,
but it was so good to see a leading forward, wasn't it?
And the best thing about Pete is that if he marks it at 50,
still a chance.
It's still a chance. Whereas a lot of forwards, you go, well, you can have it there. That's all right. We're getting you out of that dangerous space.
Yep.
With Pete and his ability to do those long bombs, I know he missed a few on the full Lord. They fell short. He kicked 6 goals, 1.
Yeah, and 1 fell short, I reckon.
And 1 fell short. But I can't
you're right.
get over that set shot. It is just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen on a football field.
It's a fascinating thing because what I love about his set shot is that even for distance,
straight.
he still keeps walking dead straight. He doesn't have to swing out to the right or left, depending on the foot. Yeah, like a lot of guys, to get that little bit of extra, distance will do that. He never does that. He says, no, I'll just run straight in and just boom, watch it go.
He took 7 marks as well. As you said, chopped out in the ruck as well. Had to permanent ruck pretty much in the last quarter. I think he
played a fair bit of game time too, when I was looking at that.
82%.
That's a fair bit for a first game back.
Yeah, it is good, yeah.
I noticed Nick Martin played 100% game time, which Martin I feel like...
Mackay is not out of the ordinary, but Martin is, yeah.
Defenders usually do stay on the ground a lot, but Nick Martin, that's a lot of game time for a guy that's playing half-forward wing, sort of, a lot of running.
And he did very, very much remind West Coast what they're missing out on. 26 disposals, as we said, 12 marks for him, and the goal...
Yeah, that goal at the end when I think he's let the crowd know, hi, I'm from West Australia.
I think he wanted to shush them, but just decided against it. He almost did the jumper flick too, but
he's not that sort of guy. He's not a outlandish sort of,
But there was an air
player.
Of,
yeah, but there was a bit of this. Tim Kelly or me.
Yeah. All right. Well, game of football. So
we've done the positives. Shall we do the negatives now? Because the game there was full of negatives.
Jesus Christ, it was awful. So, first things first, I think West Coast bought a much, much higher intensity than they have bought in the previous weeks.
Yep.
And that happens when you get belted in the media. We did it from Adelaide to Port Adelaide. We did it. It's not a new thing. It just sort of sucks that you come up against it.
It shouldn't have been a surprise to our club that they were kind of come out with a bit of vigour.
As a football club, who I have to say is better than West Coast, we're in a better position right now than West Coast are. You've got to be able to deal with that. You just have to be able to deal with that. We were sloppy. We were slow in the sense of ball movement, slow to react to anything.
We looked disinterested.
Yes, absolutely.
There was a moment where we got a free kick and we sort of chipped it to someone, and they sort of jogged off, and then they just got. I think it was Martin. Then he got tackled, and I was like, oh god,
There was a
try and
couple of
look like
times.
you're playing a game of AFL. Like like it looks like. Do you know the speed of the game? I think it's quicker than what you anticipate.
There was a few times where I thought, oh, geez, Nathan would be swearing his head off right now. You would
I
have
had to
been
turn
going
it
off
and I
trop.
had to walk away, Sam.
You did. I thought Waterman kicked the 4 goals in the first quarter and didn't kick another goal, so we sorted that out.
Well, that was interesting that we had Mackay on him.
And then it was ended up being Ridley that was the
Yeah, they
good
swapped it for
matchup.
Ridley, and you look at that and go, well, why don't they start like that? The commentators even said that's a strange matchup because Mackay's got 12 centimeters or something on him. Why are you doing that? And he can't keep the pace with him.
Yeah. I think there was once Mackay was completely blinded by the sun, so I'll give him a pass on that one. The other ones, I don't really remember the fourth, but the second and third, or the other two of the three, was just no pressure in the midfield.
Yeah,
and
that
again,
was part of
you
the
can kick to a guy on the lead where a defender can do nothing about it because there's no pressure on the ball up the ground. So
Yep.
on this occasion, and we have been critical of Mackay in the past, and rightfully so, I'm going to not put as much on him and put it a bit more on defensive
midfield.
effort.
And that's fair enough. There was a couple examples though later on in the game where Waterman was on a lead, but because Ridley was a bit quicker, he was at least able to get a fist in it and have an effect. Whereas I don't think Mackay would have been able to do that. So I
was a better
do
matchup
think
for sure.
it was a better matchup, and you'd think with who they had playing that you'd wonder why that was the matchup at the start. But we're not AFL coaches, I guess, so
No,
we just go along with it.
exactly.
Although we think we could be.
Well,
obviously.
absolutely. We could be. Oh, my screen is doing all sorts of weird things here. Give me a second.
No worries.
I don't know what's going on there.
Do you want to do a couple of team stats?
Yeah, we can do that once my screen comes back. Sure. I forgot about that. Thank you. We were plus 22 disposals, which was plus 12 kicks, plus 10 handballs. Lost the contested ball. Goes with what I was saying earlier. They really turned that particular metric up. I think they were about 10 short of their contested ball at half-time compared to what they were for the entire game last week or something like that. They were very close. Minus 4 hit-outs, not overly surprising in the circumstances. Plus 15 clearances, though, which is nice. Plus 5 centre and plus 10 stoppage.
Yep.
Somehow they had more free kicks. More inside 50s. Jumped ahead there. We had more free kicks, which is bizarre. But I also think they missed so many for us that just drove me insane.
I found the umpiring very frustrating.
And then that West Coast crowd had the audacity to boo when we did get the free kick.
Yeah.
And they'd missed about 15 in the lead up.
The throw.
And
the throw nearly
the throw
killed me.
was enough. But then the not 15 and then the holding the ball.
Oh,
You asked me specifically last week in that watch along, why do they not play holding the ball when it's like that? And I said, they get the free pass because it's the not 15. And yet we got pinged.
yep. First, and it's a bit like
And it was
that.
a 30-metre kick. Sorry, I'm getting angry. I'm getting loud.
No. Well, I watched a game on the weekend where a guy ran the ball over from about 35 metres out. Probably not that far, but he had no pressure and he walked it over the point line. And that opposition will put their arms up and I go, well, that is a lot worse than I watch what happened to us.
Yeah.
I feel like
I reckon I know
like
what you're
that
talking
Shield
about.
one was like, I feel like it just happens to us. Like normally when they, like if they do something and the umpire blows a whistle, the umpire sort of give them the benefit of the doubt. You didn't hear the whistle or you didn't know what was going on. I'll let it slide.
And he
Shield
pinged me.
clearly thought the whistle was for him for it to mark, and he was like, "What's going on? Why is he holding me?"
Well, it was a 30-metre kick. And then they're having issues with their distances because there was that 50-metre penalty Collingwood got on Thursday night that was 77 metres.
Oh, really?
Now, I'm sorry. If you're going 77 metres or for a 50-metre
count.
penalty, that's 150% of the penalty. And
But
a bit more.
the ground is broken up into
It's pretty.
distances.
I would have thought pretty easy. Yeah, it was a 77-metre penalty.
Jesus Christ.
And they measured it on Fox Footy. I would have loved to see them measure that kick because it was at least 25. I'm sure of it. Anyway, back to the point. Sorry. And I think the glaring issue that probably sums it up most is that West Coast were able to score 9 goals for 58 of their 75 points from turnover. Now, we saw this against Adelaide. We conceded over 100 in that area.
Yep.
Just not good enough. That is the one thing you can control.
And I don't want to bring up, we're playing Collingwood this week.
Yeah, who are top of the ladder. And
If we
5
turn
in
the
a row,
ball
I think.
over that much to them and their little forwards get out the back,
Yep. Oh, dear.
OMG.
Yeah. It's not looking
I think
like
that's
it's
a
going to
real
be a
issue for me,
close game.
But that's a real issue for me. Like +6 in turnovers and that number of points scored from it is that's a concern.
It really is. And you look at where they scored from. So defensive half, they scored 5 goals. Forward half, they scored 6 goals.
Yep.
But it's either 2 goals from kick-in and the rest has come from turnover. So 3 goals from defensive half turnovers and 6 from forward half turnovers.
Yep.
Like, what are we... All the good teams, you know what good teams do? Collingwood, Brisbane, who else? Put Adelaide at the moment, apparently.
Yep.
They use the ball well.
Yeah.
They kick well. They kick the ball. We overhandled several times to try and get ourselves out of trouble and just made it worse.
Yep.
But, oh my God, it just drove me insane. And I was watching it with my parents and I really have to rein it in because I don't want to be too crazy with mum and dad. And that mum and dad are both Collingwood supporters, but
gross.
to their credit, they go for Essendon because they care about me more than football.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really give a shit, to be honest. But mum was like, that's a shame.
Yeah.
It really is, Mum. Yeah, thanks. I know
It kills me. My mum does the same thing to me. That's a bit sad. How are you feeling?
Yeah. Oh, it is terrible, Mum. I know. Yeah. And when on the news Saturday night, they confirmed Draper's Achilles. Oh, that's no good. No, it's not.
Well, you're sitting in a corner crying.
Yeah, I'm just dying on the inside.
Our favourite player's broken for it.
Dear. Anyway,
I think the other thing there is it's got kick-ins. We scored again one. I reckon did we score a point last week from kick-ins?
Well, kick-ins aren't a very popular metric for kicking goals. It's not just us.
No, but it's another one of those things that drives me a little bit insane watching us do kick-ins. Like we seem to do these little short the short one to the pocket, and we seem to cram ourselves in to this one little side, and then we're stuck, and then we have to try and chip around, and
you talk about us being coaches, right? I mean, I know nothing. Let's be honest here. I know very little about developing game plans and all that.
Yep.
I rock up on the first day. Rule number 1: if you're going to kick it to a contest, kick it 50 metres down the line. Don't kick it short to a contest. It's just the most stupid thing you can do. Number 2: don't handball to a ruckman. I will die on that hill.
Unless he's really open.
Unless he has time
to
do
turn
the
around and handball
3-point
it back to you.
turn with his reverse and lights on and everything.
If it's a give and go, that's acceptable.
Yeah, fine. But just otherwise, even still, just don't. My 2 footballing
No give and goes.
mantras.
Ablett wouldn't have got half the possessions.
Don't care. So these little short farty kicks into the pocket where we gain all of 5 metres forward.
And you're given
sideways
like
10.
15 metres in front of the square.
And then you've got to do that kick anyway.
Yeah.
It drives me insane. Other teams do it very occasionally, and I go, it's not just us. Melbourne did it a few times.
I feel like we do it a lot.
I'm very invested in Melbourne at the moment.
Oh, yeah. Draft, yep, fair
Very
enough.
disappointed in Flagmantle.
They're gone. They just give up on them, Sam.
Oh, shit.
But that first quarter, like there was a moment where I think it was Mackay kicked it or tried to take them. I can't remember. We chipped it back and forth, and then one just didn't work out, and they scored from it. And it was just, I'm like, what's our game plan at the moment? Like it's really like
That's what I mean. If you're going to kick it to a contest, why sideways? Why backwards?
I understand you're trying to move the field, but you're not moving the field in the back 50. Like, no one's moving up the ground. They're like, oh, it's still way back there. Yeah. You've got to do that at about, 75 metres out and go around and get them to move.
You've got to do it with a bit of intensity and speed, not just a little lollipop kick. Oh, look, they've covered the defence. Okay, go back. Oh, look, they've covered it because we're moving at the pace of the ice age.
Snails. It's funny, a while ago we used to get frustrated by our run and carry half-backers, the Irishman and Sard.
We needed a little bit.
Well, we need one at least. Like, one guy that's just going to get... And I guess Shield was meant to do it. Like,
but we've got Redmond. He is that guy. Like,
I wonder if Sard should be given more of a license to stay in the... Like, be picked. Like, I know he had a bad game on the weekend.
He did have a bit of a stinker when he came on, yeah.
But is it him, like, is that... Should he play a full game and just get into that role?
I think he's either got to come into the 22 or he's got to go back to VFL now.
I agree.
Because you can't keep playing sub. He got a full game last week by misfortune, I guess, for the club as a whole. But you can't keep playing him as the sub. Yeah. We were very unlucky in that we subbed Gresham, and then probably 2 or 3 minutes later lost Draper.
Yep.
That kind of sucked. But I don't know. And you've got...
I mean, Gresham had been pretty fucking ordinary.
Yeah.
He'd had 5 possessions for the game, and all of them were handballs. I'm like, what's going on there, Tiger? That probably could lead us into our forward discussion if you want to have them.
I just want one last statement.
Yep.
Redmond had 18 disposals. I would be very curious to know what his instructions are week to week, because last week, who did we play? Melbourne. You know, he got forward, he kicked that goal very late, but a couple of times he got forward and was sprinting and running. So is it only something we bring out when we're already on top?
Ooh, good question, yeah.
If it is, I don't think it should be. I think you give him that license to break the game open. Quaynor does it a bit for Collingwood, although probably not quite as spectacularly, but he gets forward and drives a lot of the attack. Yeah. Can we just give him that license to do that a bit more always? Because I think against West Coast, what's going to scare them the most? Quick ball movement.
Oh, of course.
Like any team, quick
like
ball
we
movement
saw in
is scary.
Late in the third and the fourth quarter, we moved the ball a bit quicker. We got it up there, and all of a sudden they couldn't defend.
Well, those 2 goals from Perkins. Kicked one from the set shot, went back to the middle, back in, bang. He's got 2 all of a sudden. You go, oh, Jesus, that was good to watch, wasn't it?
Whereas in the first half, just chip it sideways. Gives them plenty of time for their defence to set up. And they've got a couple of still decent defenders down there.
McGovern came back in, hello.
And he was very good, as you'd expect.
Harley Reid sort of decided to rock up a little bit, not that he's a defender.
He's got some angry pills.
I did like that we gave it back to him, though. Caddy had him pinned to the ground at one point.
He gives away so many free kicks just from doing things that you don't need to do.
The commentary spoke about that, though, that teams now know that. They can get under his skin and then 100%. Get the free kicks.
You just have to push him a couple of times and he'll do something stupid. And you go, free kick, yay, thanks, mate.
That's something he needs to work on.
I don't know if I like that in him, but yeah.
Oh, he'll work it out, won't he?
Sure.
Forward line, right. It's a very valid conversation and a very tough one for us to have because it involves Caddy.
This is not about Caddy. This is about the forward 6 or 7, yeah. I know. And how it's not working. And I think for me, watching Peter Wright do what Peter Wright has done well for us before, highlighted the sort of weaknesses we have in our forward line, because he comes in. So our leading goal kicker at the moment is Draper with 7 out for the season. And
Pete now has, from one game,
6. And the other one on 6 is Zach Merritt, who's a midfielder. So the next after that is like... I think it's Menzies on 5.
Yeah, Menzies on 5. He kicked 4 last week, yeah. I thought he was okay again, though, Jai. I thought he did a lot of the pressure acts and stuff. I know.
That's concerning.
I just want to point out, before you go too much into that I had some moments, and we love Pete. We've always loved Pete because we had that conversation 6 months before we got him that we should get him, and we think now we're geniuses. We think it. No one else does.
Yeah, well, no one else does.
But what you say there about what did you just say? There was words
leading forward,
and how good it is to have that. But by having him, we're taking the limelight away from Caddy. So that conversation we have about letting Caddy play and develop and all that, we kind of lose that a little bit. Even though you could argue that it's better for him to develop with a bigger body next to him, and nothing's really changed other than Wright's a forward as opposed to Draper, who kind of is but isn't.
Yep.
But Caddy, you've written on our little run sheet, impacts the game in patches. I think that's accurate. He had a couple of moments where I went, oh, that was nice, Cads. And then a couple of times where he spilt marks, and I was like, oh, but that'll come, right? You've got to have patience with that.
It's not a problem.
Kako hasn't kicked a goal now for 3 games, I think. Is amongst it. I have no issues, but I would like to see him hit the scoreboard just a little bit more.
Yep, I agree.
We still haven't had Caddy and Kako kick a goal in the same game. In AFL. They did it in the preseason. Then, as you're saying, I mean, Martin's kicked 4 goals. Perkins kicked 4 goals, mostly as a forward. 2 of them came...
I definitely think he's a forward for his career. He's not a midfielder. He is a forward. His attributes suit that role so much better.
30 seconds was the blueprint.
Yeah. But he's got that turn. Like, he can make people look silly on a turn and then kick.
Yeah. So, may I ask, what's your issue? What are your concerns, rather?
My concern is that partly this is... I don't think there's a solution because Caddy and Kako are very young. Like Caddy's played 15 games, Kako's played 5. I watched the reserves and I thought Davey was very good. He kicked 3.
A few, yeah.
And he looked like his speed was there, his chase was there, like all those things we love from him was there. And he looks a little bit bigger too in the body legs at the gym.
Great, fantastic, yep.
My concern is that I guess when Gresham, who's played 170 odd games, I'm going to say, has a stinker, like a real stinker.
And he's prone to them.
Jones, who's, again, he's had 9 disposals and 5 of them were turnovers. So that's an absolute stinker. It leaves a lot of pressure on Caddy and Kako. Now, if you think of Caddy and what you talked about, Peter Wright's a big body, you take it away from him. Look at what GWS do with Hogan and Cadman. Mm-hmm. Cadman is a young kid, like he's in his 3rd season, probably a season ahead of Caddy. And Hogan gives this I'm the big forward, leads and gets the ball to him. That just lets Cadman play his role, get out and try and get one-on-ones, do his thing. That's what we should be trying to do with Caddy, is that just let him play one-on-one, take those marks, get back for set shots, try and, drag the better players onto Wright, because he's the big boy. He's the one that can deal with...
He's the one that's kicked 50 goals in a season.
That's right, but not always 2-on-1. But if, that's the situation, then that's what he has to deal with.
It's actually a really great point, because Hogan can still kick 9 goals in a game.
Yeah.
As he has done this season already.
Yep.
But he can still let his other forwards contribute by creating that space. So it's actually a really valid point. And Pete would have been doing that, because I would say of the 6 goals, 3 of them came from about 45 or more.
Yeah. That few of them would feel like they were long kicks.
And that's, I'm coming around. That's valuable, because he's dragging the number 1 defender out to there. And if they let him go, he marks it, he can kick the goal.
They can't allow him not to. They can't just say, oh, no, he's out at 45. We'll let him just take the mark. They can't, because they know that. Well, at 55, you go, oof, I don't even like him taking a mark there, because he can still, on the right day, can ping those. So that's what I'm saying, is that he leads out to the ball. If we kick it to him, then guys, and if he misses it, Kako and other guys should come into the play.
Yeah.
If not, he marks it and puts pressure on. And if they don't kick it to him, it should give Caddy and Langford when he comes back and Perkins and guys like that a bit of space behind to do something. That's my theory.
To do something, yes. Totally agree. I'm a big fan of the forward line generally, in the forward craft, and watching how they move and all that sort of stuff, because I don't know, I'm a nerd for that, and I never had a defensive bone in my body, so I take more joy out of watching that. You have to keep playing them. I wouldn't be upset if Kako got a tap on the shoulder and said, look, do you want to play a game in the 2s and just kick a couple of goals? We can put Davey in to cover you, whatever. Yep. I'm okay with that. Same with Caddy, for that matter, if he's...
But there's no one. See, the problem is there's no one to
come in. Yes,
it's not like this is why you sort of have to keep playing them. I think Davey Junior's got an argument to come in, but that might be at Jones's expense, because you might go a different way with the team. Like,
it can be smaller.
Yeah, we're going to play Collingwood. I've mentioned this. We're going to play Collingwood this week, and we're going to come up against a team that play very small, like they're Bo McCready, Bobby Hill, Jamie Elliott, who else?
They've just had the luxury of resting Memory and someone else.
Yeah, or DeGoey's down. So they're gonna be very small forward line. Like that, McStay and Cox will be there too. But it's really McStay. Cox is. They
have the good medium talls though. Like the Myercheck and the Membry. They're not. Yeah. They're not stupidly tall, but they're not really, really small either.
They're still very mobile.
It's just their smalls are very, very quality smalls.
That's all I'm saying. Is that let's think about Jones as a couple of weeks back to the VFL just to get some form and really find out what his role is, because we didn't mind him on the wing, but I don't think there's a spot for him there.
Yeah, I don't know.
As a forward, he's been a bit ordinary. 9 possessions and 5 turnovers is a shit game of footy. And 1 in the second half. So I just think I know the problem I have is Brad Scott doesn't make changes for the right sake. He usually just trades out players that are injured. Doesn't usually trade guys out that are...
And I mean, there's been a few big droppings.
There was. Kelly
got dropped. Someone else got dropped this week. Ginnivan's been dropped.
Doherty from Carlton got dropped.
Ginnivan got dropped by Hawthorn.
Yep. Yeah.
And had an ordinary game, but it kicked 2 goals late and it made it look good. For the
I know it won't happen, but I would like to see just a little bit of pressure. We need a little bit of pressure. Like if and like we talked about with Hayes in the VFL, he's been playing really good footy. I think the problem is it's harder to get him in because there's no one to kick out.
Unless Ridley, Mackay, or Reid have absolute shockers,
But
consistently shockers.
yeah, that's right. It's harder to get him in. Whereas in the forward line, if Davies played a good game, then I would definitely say, okay, well, you deserve a go.
What I can see happening is Al Hawley will go back to the VFL and Dave will come in as the sub.
Probably
if we're going to do anything like that,
And play
that's
a
what's
quarter
gonna
of him.
happen. Yeah,
I hate the sub
and
rule.
he'll get
Hate
no fluidity, no movement, like momentum.
Yeah,
into
he'll
his
come in
game
and play a quarter, maybe get 3 kicks, and we'll go,
we'll be
he's
like,
no
oh,
good, go
he's a
back to the
crap.
field.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break.
Mm.
When we come back, we'll talk about final few positive from Friday
If we can find some.
and on to next week. Welcome back. Look, if you're still here, it is such a negative feeling after this game. Good on you. I want to throw out one more positive player who I thought was very good, and that is Jackson Pryor.
Yes.
I was very much Jack's on.
Jack's on, not Jack's off.
I was not Jack's off. He had 18 disposals, 14 of which were kicks, and just looked good, did the defensive things he was required to do, and used the ball well.
And only a few turnovers. I had a look at his numbers too. Only like 2 or 3 turnovers, like not an issue at all.
Yeah.
Compared to someone like McGrath who had 6 or 7, I think, turnovers.
You said it a couple of weeks ago when we beat Port that McGrath didn't have a lot of ball, and we looked so much better for it. He had 25 touches and 472 metres gained, but we still looked meh.
He panics. He gets the ball and he panics. He has to
boots
kick it quickly. Yeah. He just doesn't seem to have learnt the ability to take an extra second and just look. He just, no, get it on the boot. Get it away.
Dylan Shields most certainly a midfielder. He was okay. Couple of lovely kicks inside 50 I really enjoyed.
He is definitely a midfielder.
Yeah. Who would have thought? Zach did Zach things. Merit, that is. Archie Roberts was solid.
Yep.
Look, it wasn't really a player issue. We were just a bit collectively a bit.
No, it was a mindset issue in that first half and a bit. Like they looked disinterested. They look like, we're over in West Coast.
We're going to roll up,
Yep.
beat them by 10 goals, fuck off back to Melbourne and enjoy our chocky eggs.
Yep, that's what it looked like. And I'm so scared of the Collingwood game coming up. Like,
well, let's
Collingwood have just come off beating Brisbane.
Convincingly in Brisbane. After resting a player. Oh, God.
Yep. And we've lost both our ruckmen. And we might play the 36-year-old backup we've got as a coach who might have to come and play.
Oh, shit. I was going to use that as a segue, but I bet not, because we need to do our votes. Let me just sort myself out here. You go first. You give us your little three.
Well, I go Peter Wright. Great game back 6, and backup ruckman was excellent. I go Dusty Martin 2. He's such a super little player. And I just go 1 to Draper. The way he just got around the ground and marked, like some of those marks, we're going to really miss that, like, that marking ability that he was getting a bit better at. Like,
he's getting a lot better.
Yeah, it's really important. We know how important, like Max Gawn does it for Melbourne all the time, just takes important marks in that game on the weekend. Freo trying to boot it down the middle, and Max Gawn took through 2 or 3 marks in that midfield. It's so important for ruckman. Anyway.
Agreed, wholeheartedly. I copied didn't copy, but I did write 3. Hard to go past 6 goals.
Yeah.
In a low-scoring game in particular. Rusty Martin 2 was very good. And I gave Setterfield 1. I think his defensive midfielder mindset and high tackle numbers really, really helps.
Yep. He's been great, to be honest, in the 2 weeks back.
He's been very solid.
We know his weaknesses, but his strengths are so valuable to us. Like just that in and under, inside midfield who tackles,
tackle, yeah.
Can slow someone down, hurt them.
Again, if you know the weaknesses, you can play to them. I think that's important. And for our listener this week, Nick James said ugly 6-point win coming up, which was the closest that I could see before the first bounce. And he did the same as you, right? Martin and Draper. He's 3.
Well, he knows football, obviously.
Oh, obviously. Yes. Because you are the genius here. Right. Next week. So VFL, we played Port Melbourne. We're behind early, but came back and won.
Yeah. It was a good win, actually.
So it was the Essendon
They were
Reserves.
flogging us in the first quarter.
Essendon Reserves against the Essendon Reserves.
Oh, it was weird. They had Dyson Heppel.
Yeah. And they got Hurd, don't they? Tom Hurd?
Yeah, they had Tom Hurd and they had Wanganeen. Like, I get the other two. I knew that. But when I didn't realise Dyson Heppel was playing for him. And they called his name. They went, Heppel with the handball. And I went, I wasn't
that
looking
Heppel?
That couldn't be our handball, could it? And I watched it. Oh my God, Dustin Heppel's out there. What the?
Very good. Anyway, yeah, so it was a narrow win to us, as you touched on earlier. Davey Jr. kicked the 2 goals. Three goals. Let me actually get it open because I normally do this and have it prepared.
Good on you.
Big Hayes. I'm going to call him Lenny Hayes again. What's his name? Lewis. Big Lewis Hayes. 24 touches, 12 kicks, 12 handballs, 12 marks, and 6 tackles to go with that. And if you do fantasy, that's 118 points. God damn. Sardis was probably...
Sardis had about 1 billion. I think he had 30.
Field, 31 touches, 5 tackles.
He's so clean at getting the ball. So clean. Like at picking it up, handballing it. He still butchers the thing sometimes when he kicks it, but I'm going to play him just for the fact that he gets the thing so much. Yeah. If he can handball it off the shield all day, then there's a combination. Yeah, okay. Or merit. You can give it a merit and he can kick it.
Love it. And actually, Laverde had 22 touches and 10 marks as well. Although I did
play next week. He's on a suspension.
Someone.
Yeah, he headbutted someone. He accidentally came up with the ball in his hand and his head rose up so quickly it bumped a man's face.
Oh dear. Sure, it was a complete accident.
He had some angry pills early in the game. He was really like, I shouldn't be back here.
Honestly,
I'm better than everyone.
He could do with that, to be honest. It'd probably make him a better player.
Yep.
Unwin kicked a couple of goals, I believe.
Yeah, he's good.
I heard Day Wicks didn't have a particularly great game.
No, he had a shocker. I'll tell you who I love is this Jaden Nugent.
I did Google how to say it. Just say Nugent.
Nugent, let's go with that. He's a nuggety little. He's pacey. He's hard. He's tough. He got sat on his ass in one moment, and he just bounced straight up, ready to go again. Ooh, I like you. I like the way you go about it, buddy. The other one I didn't mind was that Lual. He's not bad either. He's got some athleticism. I watched for the ruckman for Visentini. He's fine. He can ruck. You know what was hilarious? You wouldn't have known this.
Do tell.
Last quarter, we were up by a kick or two, whatever it was. 29th minute, because they count upwards. And he goes down. The camera cuts to him. He's on the ground, grabbing at his leg. I'm going, oh no. And the comments like, that's not the ruckman. That's not Visentini. I'm going, no, it hasn't. No, it has not happened. And he's in pain. I'm going, he's fucked. He's done something. The trainer comes out. They're like waving their arms around. He gets up. He limps about, and they're like, I think it's just cramp. I went, better fucking be quick. I was like, oh my God, he's done the knee. Like, no.
That could not possible at this point. So he had 26 hit-outs. He was the best ruckman in that department on the night. So I was interested that Jeren,
yep, we're going with Jeren.
Yep, didn't do a lot of rucking. Kicked a goal.
No.
Didn't do an awful lot of rucking. I just thought they would have maybe rotated it a bit more, given the circumstances.
No, they played another guy who I wasn't sure about. He seemed like an older fella.
Clouet had 5 hit-outs.
No, that was theirs.
No, that was definitely ours.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, he was ex-Carlton. Yes. Sorry, another Sudanese kid, and his kicking technique was weird. He had a bit of a strange kicking technique. No, he was fast, big. The Port Melbourne had a Sudanese kid too who was massive.
Kualmon.
They reckon he's only played 2 years of footy. He got to Geelong's list after 1 year of footy. I'm like, well, here's a chance to get us to at mid-season. He was massive, big kid.
So athletic as well. It's scary.
Beautiful. Like he was tall too. Like he was. And see, that's what I don't know with Visentini. I didn't know how to rate him because the opposition was strange. Yeah, he's not like someone I know or how to rate it.
They're standalone, Port Melbourne, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah.
They don't have an AFL affiliate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So roll into Anzac Day. Our first grand final of the year and only. Let's be real. Might not be Collingwood's.
No, they might be playing in one again, the bastards.
Yeah. So I've watched Collingwood a little bit. My sister's a Collingwood supporter and has all of a sudden gotten into football because they won a flag, I'm sure. But I've been trying to take a bit more of an interest in it for her sake because she takes an interest in it for my sake. So I've been watching them a little bit. And
lovely brother of you.
I do try. We have our moments, me and my sister. And you've said it already. Bobby Hill, Jamie Elliott scare the crap out of me. Maya Check could easily kick a bag. Cox can't do much, but he's tall and can take a mark. His kicking's gone a bit shit.
The only hope is it rains and he becomes a little less
Well,
effective.
it is actually meant to be wet.
Mm,
So your call, sorry, your call earlier about
two Ruckman.
dropping a Harrison Jones for a small
Mm.
might not be the worst thing you've ever said. Far from
that
it. I've heard a few things.
I would be keeping an eye on that from the Essendon, and I would be seriously considering that because I'd rather have a small on a wet day than a tall.
Yes. How far away is Schultz? That's my other question.
And Langford is a possibility, but although I wouldn't personally play him.
I'd rather see him come back through the twos, and I don't think
think
we're that desperate. You can get away
No,
with
I
Caddy and
I think that's the right option too, personally.
particularly if it's wet. Lockie Schultz is 1 to 2 weeks away last week, so he may play just to add another
Small, dangerous.
scary small forward. Dan Houston will come back into that side.
Here's a strange thing I'm going to throw at you.
Yes, please.
I don't know if Jackson should play.
For matchups.
Yeah, because this is the reason why I thought Sard should play personally, because
Small.
that whole Bobby Hill, Bo McCready, and Jamie Ellett, and whoever else small, they are super quick, like super quick.
Yep.
Like who we got that's a quick defender, like McGrath.
Redmond's fairly quick, not as quick as them. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I don't hate it.
Maybe Roberts. I don't know if he's
He's
quick.
quickish.
Yeah,
Don't hate it.
That's why I thought Sard could be. Maybe I'll go Sard for Pryor, and it's only because of matchups. He's had great football, but they've only got the two really recognised talls. So Ridley's going to have to probably play on like someone like Mychek.
Yep. Sorry. Yep. Go on.
And then that's why I thought, well, I don't Redmond and McGrath. I don't want Pryor. Pryor could end up on Bobby Hill. That would be bad football.
So Mackay on McStay.
Yes, well, Mackay McStay and probably Reed on Cox.
Yeah.
And then you got the smalls you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Which Bo McCready and Bobby Hill are faster than anyone we've got.
Bo McCreary is lightning.
He is faster than anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering. That's why I thought Sard maybe he's a good matchup. And then we should try and go the other way by bringing in Rioli and try and bring some pace into our forward line. No, just a thought.
Do you mean Rioli or do you mean Davey?
Davey, sorry.
It's borderline microaggression. So the biggest thing for me, and we did this against West Coast, was kept bombing it on Flogguts. McGovern's head.
Yes.
Need to remind anyone that Darcy Cameron is a very good footballer.
Yes.
And he's all of a sudden returning to some serious form as well.
Yes.
We need to avoid him. And I harp on this a little bit, is that Peter Wright, you can play a pretty selfless game and take him out of it as much as you possibly can. Because that's going to be the matchup. Like, if they're going to go one-on-one, I mean, he probably...
Yeah, but that doesn't leave us much as a four. Like, if you...
Yeah, I know, but if Darcy Cameron's there...
Yes, I'm not disagreeing with you, but if Peter Wright has to drag his player out of the 50...
I feel like Cameron...
Yep,
Darcy.
Cameron.
No, Darcy Moore, not Darcy Cameron. There's two Darcys.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Moore plays more of that loose man anyway.
Well, he might...
So he probably won't even follow, right? But anyway, they scare me. They're very old. I do wholeheartedly believe they're 2 or 3 injuries away from being an absolute shitter. But for right now...
Steel Sidebottom will have 42 possessions because he always does.
706. I can't wait. I really can't wait.
I don't know if I'm watching it. I'm honest. I'm going to be in Melbourne. I'm not going to the game. Catching up with some friends for a week that we're down there. And I just don't know if I can put myself through it because I just think we're going to be so far off it. Like, if we roll up like anything like we've done against West Coast in that first quarter, they will have kicked 8 goals in the first quarter.
I think the only saving grace and the only thing that gives me a little bit of hope that we might be a little bit competitive is that we usually rock up and play to the level of our opponent.
You're right.
So we've rocked up thinking we'll smash West Coast and all will be great.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to rock up to Anzac Day going, oh, Jesus, Collingwood are fucking good again. Oh, my God. We've got to lift. We've got to be on our game here.
Yep.
And if that happens, seriously, the mental aspect of our football club is the biggest issue we have.
Yep.
If that's how it turns out. So, Draper will be out. There is a question mark over Dersma. Put his body on the line.
Horrible hit. He got that knee into the...
I know, but I love it because he didn't care what was coming.
Oh.
He put his body on the line, and
that would hurt. There's hurt and there's hurt.
He was doubled over in pain for the next 10 minutes.
Even when he sat down, he couldn't even he was like still bent over. He was like, can't straighten.
But Xavier, love you for putting your body on the line like that.
He's a good. I like him a lot.
Scary, scary stuff with him coming at you. Otherwise, we don't have anyone. I mean, Langford, as you say, is fit, so maybe that's an in. Interestingly, Nick Cox has listed it now as a calf rather than concussion.
Oh, God, really?
Which is interesting.
Does Sardis come in after the?
I think so.
But who goes out then? I guess.
Setterfield.
No, you can't. This is where you need Setterfield because this is where we're back up against big-bodied midfielders. Whereas against West Coast, you kind of went, they're a younger team, we should do better, but we didn't. I think Hobbs would probably be the one for me. I think he's not playing like when you look at his numbers, he had 4 CBAs, so he's sort of in there a little bit. Whereas Sardis, you would put in there full time. You could put him in there with Setterfield and Merritt. I'd push Durham out to the wing because
I'd forward line even.
Well, Durham to the wing on Steel side bottom and say, that's your target for the day. Fucking run with him and just sort him out for the day. Don't let him get 30 possessions like we know he will. So he can deal with him. And like Sardis can just go to work on the midfield. Just get in there and get the ball, mate. Go in there and get the footy, get it out. Look, butcher some kicks. We'll deal with it. We'll teach you to be better in time. But he cannot rot away in the VFL another week. Like he's played his VFL game. He showed form, got 30 touches. If he doesn't come in this week, the kid, I don't understand what we're doing. No. I will question what we're doing.
Particularly after the preseason.
If he knows kicking's an issue, I don't care. He's got to play.
Yeah. So we are assuming Goldstein comes in.
Oh, they have to pick Goldstein. I would love to pick Vizentini and let him first game at the MCG Anzac game. Who's that kid? Who was that kid that was using?
Mark McGough for Collingwood.
He got a best. Yeah. Was that his first game?
Yeah,
or around?
I believe it might have been. Let me double check that. But
he was best on. It was a wet game too. I'm pretty sure.
Yep. Mark McGough debuted in 2002, so I don't think it was his first game of football.
No, okay, fair enough. But it was very young. Second. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so look, they will pick Goldstein. I don't mind the idea of going with Vizentini, but I don't think they will.
He had 24 touches. Not a great game, but that was a team high for Collingwood. So I mean,
yeah, that's back when you didn't touch the footy as much back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, 2002. In any case, I will be very interested to see what happens with the Rucks. If it's going to be wet, I don't see them bringing in Jeren and not Jeren, the other geezer, Vigo, and Goldstein. I think it'll be just Goldstein for Draper.
I think that's what they'll do.
I'm buying some fish today, and I'm going to name it Todd Goldfish, just for anyone who's interested.
Well, it's quite good.
I think I'm hilarious.
No, it's good. It's funny. It's funny from you.
I wish I liked Goldstein more than I do. But unless Nate Caddy has a fish pun anyone can think of.
Does Gresham get dropped after that game?
Nah.
Or do you let it slide?
Let it slide. He frustrates. I don't think so. I could see it for wetness, because if it's going to piss down rain, yeah, fair. But if it's otherwise, no. Gresham, I think I have to deal with. He's good one week, shit the next, and it seems to be pretty consistent. So if he rocks up and has a good game on Anzac Day, well, all right.
I just think it's disappointing that he throws out a game like that, and he's played 175 games.
He's got to be better.
And we've got a young forward line when we brought him into the team because he needs to be the senior, mature body in there, and he's playing 5 handballs we get from him. Fucking Jesus. Like, what's that, mate? Like, have you got feet?
It's frustrating.
Do you want to do tip?
Well, I'm going to ask you for a tip.
I'm going to pick us by 12 points because that's what we do. But there's no way in hell we will win this game. I will.
Can you give me an actual tip?
Okay, Collingwood by 45.
Okay, thank you. Because every time you've not given us an actual tip, or any time you've not said Essendon by 12, guess what's happened?
Yeah, well, Collingwood by 55. 55. Seriously, we nearly 10 goals.
Okay, I'm going to say Collingwood by 73.
Somewhere in the middle.
We're just so we're not playing great footy anyway. Plus losing your 2 best ruckmen in such horrible fashion, it just sucks. And
it's crushing for the year, isn't it? Like it's round 5, and I've lost all enthusiasm for the club. Like I'm like, well, what's the point?
It would have sucked if we rocked up and Draper had a 2-week hamstring injury.
Yeah.
We would have gone, oh, for God's sake, after losing Brian last week, Jesus Christ. And then
The
12
kicker
months.
is and then there's the whole now thrown up with his contract situation. And Nick Bryant's in the same contract situation. Well, slightly different. He's out of contract.
He's not
And they're both under the same management group, so they know what they're doing.
I would be surprised if either of them left at the end of the year. I think Draper's pretty committed. I think we're pretty committed to Draper. It doesn't matter. This injury doesn't affect anything from our point of view. I think we'd want to keep them both. The only thing that worries me is if they do want to leave, they're cheaper than what they would be if they played the whole season.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I hope they don't leave because I think they're both really good players. But they'll do whatever. I also won't begrudge them if they take a, like that. What's that? Apparently St Kilda throwing 12
Squillions at De Koning.
De Koning. How
I
can you say no to that?
I think he's fantastic.
But how do you say no to that as a bloke? How do you walk away from 12? That's...
The thing for us is if we did lose Draper and O'Brien, God forbid it's both, let's just say we lose one of them, we'd have to replace them with a ruckman because Goldstein can't possibly go around again.
No, Goldstein doesn't.
And we cannot rely on Vigo and Jeren to come in and be the number one
or even number
two ruckman consistently. It's just not on yet. So
you have to go find a second ruckman who's not getting games at a senior club, like Sweet was a few years ago, like Meek was a few years ago. Find a guy like that.
Oh, let's worry about that at the end of the year, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, look, at the end of the day, it's a game of football that we did win. We are now positive in the ledger. We are 3 wins, 2 losses. I fully believe if we'd played Gold Coast, we would be 3-3. But...
Which would... I honestly think that could be our last win for the year.
Yeah, let's not go that hard. I think the last, barring that Adelaide game of 161, 3 of the remaining 4 games have been under 100 points conceded.
Yep.
It's 3 weeks in a row now. We've conceded less than 70.
Yep.
West Coast 75, but then less than 70 the other 2. Hawthorn only won 11, which on reflection is a decent, they're a high-scoring team. So, I don't know. All is not lost, but in the ruck department, it's pretty fucked.
It's lost. It's all lost in the ruck department.
Yep. All right. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a tough one to get through this week.
It's been horrible.
Never don't like talking footy. We'll be back next week to review Anzac Day. Go Dons.
Go Bombers!